Hello Year 9, this video we are looking at David Hockney as inspiration for our portraits. So David Hockney is not only a portrait artist, he's actually worked in many different styles using many different techniques over the years, and currently he's actually mostly using iPads in order to make his artwork. So looking at his portraits that he's done, we can see that they're actually made up of really small dashes. So the whole portrait is only made up out of lines, which is something that I would like you to copy in your portrait. So the way that he creates dark areas and light areas in his portrait, so that is um, tone, and that is used to make it look more three-dimensional. Um, to create dark areas, he has used dashes that are close together and therefore making up a darker area of the page. And for light areas, he has used dashes a bit further apart from each other, and he's also just left the white of the page just blank in some areas as well to make that darker. To make that lighter. So he's not the only person ever to have used dashes to create portraits. Before David Hockney, Vincent van Gogh famously used dashes. So in the one on the left, the painting, Vincent has used colour to make dark areas and light areas because as you can see, you can't see any of the page behind it. He's used colour. Whereas in the one on the right, which is a sketch that he did before he did a painting of this person, you can see that he's used the same technique, which is to use dashes close to each other to make darker areas, and either leaving the blank white of the page to create light areas, or having the dashes further apart. So for your portrait that you're doing today, you are going to need something to draw with that is a colour. So that can be pens, pencils, anything that you have that is a colour. You will also need the portrait that you drew last lesson because that's what you're working onto. And then you're also going to need the photograph that you worked from, or the mirror if you worked drawing yourself, or the person that you drew. So this lesson, you will create depth in your portrait using only dashes. So that's only lines. This should be on one side of the face only, and it should use an unnatural looking colour to emulate the artist David Hockney. So that just means you should use a colour that's not a natural skin tone, because that is what the artist David Hockney does, and we're using him as inspiration. So the reason that you're only doing it on one side of the face is because in the next video, you will then be doing the other side of the face in the style of a completely different artist. That artist is going to be Marina Gonzalez M.A., and she is a Spanish artist who looks at texture, shape, and pattern. So today you are only focusing on doing the dashes, so I thought I'd show you a close-up of the one that I did. As you can see, not all of the small dashes are going in the same direction. What I've done here is something called directional mark making, and that just means that the direction of each of the dashes that I have done follows the shape and the curves of the face. Okay, so because the dashes are going in particular directions, it gives the impression of like the 3D surface of the face, so you can see the contours of the face. If you think that you can do this yourself, you can work out how to do this yourself, absolutely please try and do that and go ahead. If you think that's going to be a bit more difficult for you to decide which direction each of the marks should be going in, you can kind of copy the direction that this person has used in this sketch. And as you can see, so for example, like over the nose, we can see that the marks kind of go flatter as it approaches the nose, up, upwards as it gets to the bridge of the nose. At the bridge of the nose, it goes across a bit and then it comes down on the other side. And that just means that your picture follows the right shape and it makes it look 3D. It makes it look as though the bridge part at the top is further up than this part here because the line goes upwards to get to the bridge.
So as you start your portrait, it's a good idea to actually rub out quite lightly some of the lines that you've got and then add them back in your coloured pen or pencil. Then you've got the kind of main features in the right place, so the eyes, the edge of the nose, maybe the lips, and kind of outside of the face, things like that, so that we can see them properly and they stand out in your portrait. Then on my one, I've then gone on to do the directional mark making to make the face look a bit more 3D, always thinking about which areas are the dark areas because that is what you're actually drawing. That you're only putting in really the darkest lines. As you can see as well on the hair, I've actually used longer lines than just dashes, as when I looked at the David Hockney pictures, he used kind of longer lines when he was doing the hair. You don't have to absolutely stick to the middle of the page, so you can actually go a little bit across onto the other side, and that's just going to kind of blur the boundary between the David Hockney side and the artist's side that we're going to be doing next lesson.